Hi guys, Grant Nelson again here with the Mustache Off-Grid YouTube channel. In case you're new to the channel, I cover various off-grid and homesteading topics. I live off-grid in southern Missouri in a one-room cabin. And anyway, figured I'd make a video today, guys. I usually try to make one at least once a week, or you know, as I feel fit. And garden's coming along good. Some of the peaches fell off the peach tree. I might put that in the video, just show you guys. But I guess as the trees get older, because the peach trees may be 3 years old, as they'll push off the fruits that they can't support. So anyway, that's going on. There's still some good peaches on it. All my apples fell off the trees. Kind of annoying, but maybe they'll put on some more. I don't know. They put on a lot of branches, I can say that. Got some good bunnies. I had 18 bunnies, and it seemed like every day when I was going out there was a couple missing. I couldn't quite tell at first. You know, the first day I was like, oh, maybe I just miscounted. Then every time I'd go out there was a couple missing, and I guess there was I believe there was a snake getting in there and eating the baby bunnies, so took care of that issue. And but I've still got a couple, but there was 18 and I've only got 3 left. I mean, man, that snake had an appetite. Let's see, what else is going on? Log cabin's still coming along good. I've been working on it a little bit every week. I don't push it too hard on everything. It's got a roof, so it's drying out good, which is exactly how you want it. Right now I'm cooking a hog's head on the fire. You could probably see it over there. Cooking a hog's head, making what they call hog's head cheese, I think it's called, but you boil it down and then basically make it into like I don't know, it's like a gelatin type thing, meat gelatin, and it's probably good on sandwiches and stuff, but I'll probably just eat it like a charcuterie type thing. I'll probably have a whole video on that. Just kind of interesting. I never cooked one, and I had them taking up space in the freezer. I said, might as well use them. So I'm working on that today. Cutting a couple more floor joists. I got most of the floor joists cut, but I've got a couple more to go. What else is going on that I was going to tell you guys about? Not too much. Things are greening up nice. We've had a lot of rain, so things are nice and green. Sheep are happy, rabbits are happy, chickens are happy. Everything's in full production. But anyway, one topic that I really wanted to discuss today, just a little bit. And it's kind of an opinion. I have a lot of opinions in these videos, and when you cover as many topics as I've covered, sometimes it's hard weekly to come up with a new topic, and sometimes I just like to talk about things going on in the world of homesteading or just in the world in general. And as far as it goes, I talked a little while ago in one of my videos about Amos Miller's farm, the Amish guy that had his farm raided. He was selling raw milk, was a big part of it, and he has had his farm raided, I believe it was like 8+ times previously. I can't remember all the details on it off the top of my head. And, I was watching another video this week in in North Carolina. They were trying to pass a bill to ban raw milk for personal consumption. So like if you had your own cow, you couldn't even drink the raw milk. Now, obviously, they probably wouldn't be able to enforce that very well unless they're going through your personal fridge and you're telling them, oh, I'm drinking raw milk. But you shouldn't have to lie to live your life and to, someone wants to drink raw milk, they should be able to drink raw milk. I mean, heck, we have states where there's legalized heroin use for recreational. If marijuana and cigarettes and alcohol are legal to consume, why can't people drink raw milk if they choose to do so from their own personal cow? Now, I think that people really caused a fuss, and they didn't get that bill passed in North Carolina. But then they tried to pass another one, which I don't know whether they passed it or not, to ban it for pet consumption. And I know that that was one of the ways that a lot of people got around the regulations on raw milk, was they'd sell it only for animal use, like to feed animals. And then people would probably consume it, I assume. You know, if they're not scared of it. But they would label it as for animal, not for human consumption, and then people would just buy it, and that was one way a lot of people were working around the regulations. That's just a few, you know, things I've seen go on with this raw milk stuff. And then you have the bird flu where they were, you know, taking out whole chicken houses. They still probably are. I haven't looked into it that much. And then you've got, you know, some states that were making it illegal to buy and sell chickens due to the bird flu, you know, at sale barns and everything else, and just killing off flocks and flocks of them. And then you had, let's see, what else was going on that I can think of? I mean, the list goes on to things where there's government oversight on homesteading. Just checking the pot real quick, make sure it don't fall over. I read a story, you know, maybe a year ago, or someone talked about it, where guys had ultrasounds for cows that they were doing, and they got put in jail in Pennsylvania for it, just for doing ultrasounds, not anything consumption wise. Just in that state, I guess their state ag department claimed that they needed to be a licensed veterinarian to perform veterinary procedures on animals, which I don't know of any farmer, homesteader, anyone that, you know, as far as vaccinations and things like that, doesn't administer medical help to their animals. You don't just call the veterinarian every time there's a problem. And then you've got states where, you know, you can't catch rainwater. You've got states where, you know, there's I mean, there's just a long list of state ag departments and other things that are cracking down on people farming, and, you know, highly favoring corporate agriculture and hating on homesteading and small farms. And you look at history, since the USDA and FDA were created back in the 1920s or 30s, and you look at the percentage of private farm ownership from that time, owned by individuals, family farms. I believe today that only about 1% of farming in the United States is done by family farmers, and the rest is mostly corporate and foreign farmers on our American soil. I know, like a year or two ago, that in Missouri they had a bill to ban China from buying farmland in Missouri, and I know some states have done that. And then they didn't pass it. In a conservative state, you know, with a conservative House, Senate, and governor, they didn't pass a bill to ban the sale of farmland to the Chinese, which honestly would make sense, because they're buying up all the farmland, and then you've got billionaires like Bill Gates buying up a lot of the farmland. It's all corporate owned, and that's what socialized, the sister of social systems, socialism, sister of socialism, gets you. When you want socialized programs based on socialist concepts and government intervention in free markets, and you're against capitalism, that's what's going to happen. And that's what I see with a lot of our government oversight on agriculture in general. They want the corporations to do all the farming because they can control them and because the corporations lobby them. And it's been that way from the very beginning on all the creation of the FDA, USDA, and all those other government agencies. And it may seem like I'm getting kind of off track here, but you know, I was really considering the constitutionality of all these different fines, regulations, things that they're trying to do on a state and a federal level. And we have, I think it's 27 amendments in the Constitution. The first 10 are, you know, Second Amendment, firearms, First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, search and seizures. A lot of them have to do with courts and, you know, fair trials. There's a few other ones in there. You've got the Ninth Amendment that is supposed to cover any rights that are not covered in the Constitution. So if there's because the rights in the Constitution are considered God-given rights by the writers of it, if you read the preamble. And they're considered human rights that everyone has when they're born, and no one can take them away in a free country. And I mean, the Ninth Amendment, the fact that was the one where they put Roe versus Wade under previously, that the Supreme Court recently overturned. That was also the amendment that has to deal with adult videos and things like that, and considering it in art, where it's considered a right in that regard to buy and sell and whatever else with that stuff. To me, I look at some of the stuff that the Supreme Court has passed under the Ninth Amendment or has set a precedent for, and I say, how is it that we don't have anything under the Ninth Amendment for food and agriculture, water consumption, and that type of stuff? If anything, to me, I think the ability to plant a seed in your yard and grow it, or the ability to have a well on your own personal property and drink water from it, I think those things are way bigger God-given rights than anything, almost anything in the Constitution. I mean, the Second Amendment, I don't think the whole Constitution or any of the laws can exist without it. But when you think about water and food as human rights, those are things that I feel, growing your own food, producing your own food, and selling your own food on a local level or on a personal level, and consuming water from the ground, from a pond, from wherever. Those are things I really think the government should add amendments, whole line items to the Constitution that cement those things as something that the government can't meddle in, because they have been since the corporate agriculture started in the 1920s and 30s. Sorry, I was looking at the hogshead I'm boiling over there. And when you look at the history behind that, a lot of that had to do with canning and processed foods that they started selling around that time. The Great Depression had happened, so the food corporations had a opportunity to take advantage and make people more reliant on buying food from them. But when you consider these things, the history behind some of these organizations, some of the unconstitutional things where people are getting put in jail for raw milk and raw meat and selling things without a permit, personally, I think those things need to be considered rights under the Constitution. They need a line item for growing, producing, and selling your own meat, milk, anything produced off your own land, and they need a line item specifically for water. That's my opinion. Those things are, if we're the freest country in the world, we shouldn't have government regulating the most basic of freedoms in general. But anyway, that's something I kind of crossed my mind today, kind of an opinion piece, that the Senate and the President and the Supreme Court, I don't think the Supreme Court has much to do with ratifying constitutional amendments. Maybe they do. I think it's just the House, Senate, and the President that have to sign off on the amendments. I really think that they should put line items in there specifically for producing your own food, as far as gardening, livestock and other things, and as far as water. And they can make them as broad or as detailed as they want, but I think that the way that the world is going today with technology, and there's less and less people producing those things, and it's more going to corporate and foreign-owned companies and the rich only that are buying up the land and producing these things for human consumption. I really think that they do need to cement those fundamental rights. It's something we haven't had to do. Obviously in 1776, when the Revolutionary War happened and the country was founded, and through the 1800s into the early 1900s, even up into the 1950s and 60s, it really wasn't a question in general that you could just go out and grow your own food or produce your own food. You weren't going to get put in jail for selling raw milk. You weren't going to get put in jail for selling eggs. You weren't going to get put in jail for selling processed meats off your own land. Whereas now they've got so many regulations on the stuff, and they've kind of, to me, some of the stuff going on is just unjust, just in my opinion. I think that it's relevant to homesteaders because I mean, generally homesteading revolves around producing your own food and water and air and everything else. So anyway, that's just an opinion, just a bit of a ramble, guys. I figured I'd make a short video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Should they make an amendment to the Constitution based on producing your own food and producing your own water? Should they make some sort of amendment to the Constitution adding those as rights to American citizens? Let me know in the comments what you guys think and what your opinion is on it. I feel like they really should. I feel like if we're the freest country in the world, those are things that we need to add. I don't think it was a question when the Constitution was written, and I don't think it was a question until recent. I think it's become more of an issue of recent, where regulations have gone so out of hand that I almost feel they do need to make a constitutional amendment to lax the regulations a bit. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching. God bless. Sit. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make Bailey famous for YouTube. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching.